first live Twitch stream. Let's see if everything is going. Let's make sure that all of the sounds and the features and all of the things are going well. Here it is launching. Oh, look at that. We're on Twitch. Okay, here we go. All right, we're testing here. Let's reload this player and see if it's working. All right, awesome. Okay, here we go. Yes, and we're live. And we're heading into the live. Hi, everybody. Hi, good evening, and welcome to Political Fixer Live. It's election night, everyone. It's election night, and we've got a big one. Lots of things happening, and there's some other big updates. Good evening to all of you on TikTok and also now on YouTube and also on Twitch. It is our very first live stream on Twitch. So say hello to all of the peoples. All right, everyone, come on in and welcome to Political Fixer Live. As we get started, let's do a warm up question this evening, as we always do on Tuesday evenings on Political Fixer Live. You can join us on any of our platforms and jump in if you think you know the answer. How long until Jeanine Pirro is fired? How long until she is fired? We have some inside gossip on what happened in a late night evening meeting at the White House. We're going to tell you what's going on, why she fell out of favor, and why you should care. Why do you care if yet another person in this administration gets fired? We're going to talk about that and more. So, first question as we're getting warmed up is, how many of you believe that Jeanine Pirro is about to get fired, or do you think she's going to make it through and live many Scaramucci's past today's deadline? Hey, TH Fannin, good to see you. You all can jump in on the comments on any of our platforms now. You can jump in on TikTok, you can jump in on YouTube, and now for the first time ever, we are on Twitch at Political Fixer, so you can jump in there as well. We've got so many things to talk about as we get ready for the elections. I'm curious to know what all of your favorites are, which election results you're looking for. We've got so many good stories. I want to give credit to the Political Fixer team helping me put together all of the stories for this show, because there are a lot of subplots. I can imagine that the story you're waiting for is Michigan. We're definitely going to be talking a lot about Michigan. Hello, Miss Zentris. Good to see you this evening. Hello, G Viv. Good to see you as well. Hey there. And hey to all of you joining us now on Twitch and on YouTube. Okay, so we are going to be talking about Michigan, but there's a lot of other stories that are happening. There's some ballot initiatives across the country we're keeping a close eye on. There's some different races besides Congress that are happening, believe it or not. And I definitely want to give credit to Bolts Magazine for all of the research that they did. So okay, yeah, there's a lot. Papa Crazy is setting the tone for the evening. There's definitely a lot of crazy that we'll be discussing this evening. A lot of subplots, a lot of drama. And one thing that I love, many of you know this if you've joined us for any of our election night specials before, one of the things that I love about primary night is that you can kind of have fun with the soap opera, right? Because right now it's kind of low stakes in the scheme of things. We're not sitting here on pins and needles waiting to see what happens with midterms and what might happen to democracy. We are able to kind of poke fun at our own parties, I would hope. And we're also able to kind of see that, you know, that might be a little bit dramatic now, but hopefully we'll come together on the end, right? Hey, Nakanda, good to see you. I'm so happy that you're here. All right, as we're getting started, I want to kick off before we dive into election stuff, because we've got so much to talk about with the election. We're waiting for a few more results to come in as things are coming in. TH Fannin jumping in on our question of the evening to warm up, which is, do we believe that Jeanine Pirro is going to last long in this administration? Specifically, how many Scaramucci's do you think she's got? There was a kind of unplanned meeting that happened in the White House, and thanks to a New York Times expose, which I gotta say, I really hate inside access journalism, but they are good for the inside gossip every now and again. We know a little bit about what happened in that meeting. Good evening to Kelly F and others joining us right now. So TH Fannin is saying, I think Piro will probably quit. She took a big box out of her office. We've got inside stuff there. Hello, Square Foot Gardening. So good. Kathy McGrath Walcott says she's done. You feel like she's pretty much done. I've got some details on what happened with that Pirro meeting in the White House, but in the meantime, I want to know what all of you think. Do you believe that Jeanine Pirro is about to be on her way out? And also, why and why does it matter? Susie B is like, just get to it, spill the tea. Okay, so here's what we know. We believed that she might be on her way out, Jeanine Pirro, because of a couple of things. Number one, she was pretty much on the side of actual reality recently, where she attempted to file charges and successfully prosecute people, amongst them an Olympian. Just really poor luck there with that arrest. If you're trying to swoop up some random people and make them pay for fake crimes, it always stinks when you've got an actual Olympian there. The only thing that could have made that worse is if he was like rescuing a puppy out of the reflection pool, but it was a pretty bad PR situation for her, to be sure. And they kept saying, oh, it's because they vandalized the reflecting pool. And eventually, when they actually brought it into the next steps of trying to prosecute this, it was a nothing case. And so rather than risk getting disbarred or worse, she decided to kind of fold her cards, so to speak, and back those charges up. And that humiliated the White House and the administration that had been kind of fabricating this vandalism lie for months now. It couldn't possibly be anything normal, like just bad workmanship and craftsmanship. It had to be vandals, right? And so so basically they were looking at trying to do these charges. She couldn't get them to stick, and so she essentially, in their eyes, humiliated the administration. So then cut to the scene where there is an undisclosed meeting. The press was caught a little bit off guard, where Pirro is seen wheeling a box out of the White House, a white file box on top of another box on wheels, just pulling it behind her. And so people were thinking maybe this was it. Maybe she was losing her job, right? Shadow and Moon says, well, it's not me. They're trying to get anything to stick. This is true. Anything to stick. So what happened, according to the New York Times in a piece that was released late today, is insiders at the White House said that actually those files came in with her. Jeanine brought some receipts. She was not going to go down without a fight. Apparently, she had a scapegoat that she had ready in her back pocket. So she came in with evidence to plead her case as to why it wasn't her fault. It was the incompetent idiots around her that were causing the problem. Sources say that there was a lot of yelling and screaming, but by the end of it, she pled her case and essentially won. And so she lives to see another day, right? So those files she brought out with her are actually files, according to multiple sources, that she brought in with her to fight for her job. Now, this is interesting to me. Two things about why. Why would she fight for it, and why should you care? Here's the thing. The why she should fight for this is the question I cannot answer. This woman was making way more money just spewing nonsense on Fox News. She was doing just fine for herself. She was not actually having to, answer to judges or do inconvenient things like follow the law. She could just talk about stuff and get people riled up and make a lot more money doing it. But I think she didn't want to go down like that. She didn't want to go down without a fight. She didn't want to be just another 47 administration casualty, is my guess. Bippity Boppity Boo has a great point, and good evening, saying she's making more money likely under the table now. I mean, who isn't these days just trading on insider information with this administration, right? That's my side hustle. I'm just kidding. Um, and Misentrist agrees, says she's probably got her trading information making out like a bandit with money there. These are great points. We're only counting her salary. Wow. Really good points by the Political Fixer family here. If you're just joining us, welcome to Political Fixer Live. We're doing our warm up question and story with Jeanine Pirro, but we've got lots to cover with the election soon. But here's why I think you should care. TH Fannin says we should all be billionaires now. Agreed. Agreed. So here's why I think it matters, because I want to see what this dynamic becomes. because this was something that was absolute nonsense, absolute fabrication about honestly a really silly topic in the scheme of things. Now, it's not silly to the people that got caught in the crosshairs. These families are having to deal with legal expenses and stress, and they were in real danger of paying a price for something that was just ridiculous. So to them, it was very real. In the scheme of life's problems for the rest of us, however, them messing up the reflecting pool is infuriating, ridiculous, all of the things, but it's not even top 50 of the problems with this administration, but they were embarrassed. That is the key. They were embarrassed. And she went in there fighting for her job at what cost? Is she about to be even more of a yes person to this administration? Is she going to say, well, I couldn't please you with that ridiculous prosecution, but I've got a few more up my sleeve? How would you like it if I captured a few people with big mouths who have live broadcasts every Tuesday? Just for example, I'm only mildly kidding, right? Professor Liberty Esquire, good evening to you, says a metaphor a little too on the nose. This is true. The reflecting pool is basically a Dr. Seuss book illustration about this administration, right? So we basically have a situation where she got off with her job, but at what cost to the rest of us? What is she going to do to please the administration now and in the future? Because I will tell you that Doug Burgum, who is the former governor of North Dakota, who she penned this on, was basically making his rounds on all the cable news channels and not doubling down, tripling down on the reflecting pool lie, because he barely got away. And credit where credit is due to the Fox News host defeating the former governor in keeping her job, right? So Tasha is like, we need you. Don't get disappeared. Listen, if I get disappeared, you all are going to be the ones that have to solve it. Let's just be very clear. The first thing that happens is my attorney gets a phone call. The second thing that happens is my team knows to go on live on this account and have all of you solve the crime of my disappearance. Let's be very clear about what the steps are, right? Okay. Now, as interest says it's temporary, she's going to be sacrificed at some point. So Corey asked a question about another news article about why did Zoran Mamdani say he can arrest Netanyahu when he clearly knows he can't. He actually didn't say that. That was taken out of context. And in fact, Corey, I had the same question or a similar one. And then he did a clarifying, I wouldn't call it a press conference. It was more a press briefing because I don't think he took questions. And if memory serves from watching the video in my head, I believe he was sitting at his desk when he gave it. And he said, listen, in my opinion, he should be arrested, but I unfortunately do not have the power to do so. So there was a lot of kind of rumor that was speculating with that, and there was a lot of irresponsible headlines and clickbait, as you can imagine, clickbait that was happening with that headline. But actually, if you watch what he said, he was pretty clear about it, and it wasn't a long speech. It was maybe 5 to 7 minutes. So I highly encourage you to just kind of do a search for it. I thought he did a really good job of saying, this is what I believe. This is what I would love to see happen, but unfortunately, this is where we stand. And so I am working with federal authorities, et cetera, et cetera. So, good question, which is why you can't believe everything that you read in these headlines, right? So, Ms. Interest backing me up there with he definitely clarified that misunderstanding, right? Okay, so let's get to some. We've got so many election headlines, and we've already got a lot of things coming in, and some that have already gone final. Now, for those of you who joined us last week for Political Fixer Live, and we do this on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern until basically the news stops, and normally about an hour, but with the California primaries, we went pretty late. So let's see how tonight plays out for us. But last week, we talked about a pretty big project that we started, which was the Political Fixer Fighter Project. The Political Fixer Fighter Project is something where we're identifying different congressional seats. We've identified our top 50 House seats and our top 12 Senate races, and we're keeping an eye on them. Now, the big thing that we're looking for tonight is we are almost at the end of primary season, and we're seeing who is going to represent us in the midterm elections. Let me give you some numbers, And some of the people that are being decided this evening are on our fighter board. You can go there at any time, politicalfixerfight.com. That's politicalfixerfight.com, and see all of our fighters. And then we are frantically, as fast as the team can, we've got a lot of resources there, all of them free for you to share, learn, understand more about these races. And we're working to get social graphics, commercials, and some merch in case you all want to get more involved in spreading the word about these races, right? Michelle is asking a great question. Tennessee's primary being on a Thursday is throwing me off as well, but we do have some races to call, which is the second part of your question. Okay. So we're going to start in Virginia. I know we're excited about Michigan. We're still waiting on results from Michigan to come in. So let's start really quickly with Virginia. Let's look at Virginia 1 first. So let me tell you a little bit of backstory with Virginia for those who have not been following the news as obsessively as us over here at Political Fixer. So Virginia tried to redraw their maps. In fact, they did redraw their maps as a response to Texas, similar to what California did. And it went through their legislature and they said, yes, we are redrawing these maps. And the Virginia Supreme Court said, not so fast. So some of these districts have been in a little bit of up and down swing. This one is supposed to be close. Now, throughout this evening, we are unveiling a new kind of way of looking at these races. We're going to be talking about this a lot more throughout the midterms, but let me give you the math stuff really fast. We now have the ability, as of now, from the Political Fixer team, we've calculated what we call our blue wave probability. And what that means is we looked at every special election from the state legislature, Congress, etc., as long as they were in the same districts, as long as there wasn't something heavily redrawn. And we were actually able to calculate the strength of the blue wave. Yes, we are nerds. Many of you know that about us already, right? Hey, Carrie, good to see you. So we calculated the strength of the blue wave, and we believe that right now it sits at 14.9 points. So what does that mean? That means back when I started, back when there were no interwebs in this crazy business, something about a 2 or 3 point swing was something that you would expect to see change from red to blue or blue to red, unless there was something drastic or dramatic that happened, sometimes up to 5 points. Those days are no more. Right now, we believe that anything within 15 points is genuinely up for grabs. Not saying likely, not saying we're going to get all of them, but this is a number that we feel very comfortable with. And based on that, we have assigned probability, right? So blue wave metrics, that's what we're looking at. And so we're going to be giving you those scores as they become relevant. Hello, Blanca Falcon. Good to see you, right? Okay. So Virginia 1, we believe this is a blue wave race with a 60% probability, which means even without the redistricting, there is a better than likely chance that a Democrat will win this seat. So right now, I can tell you that this race has been called. And Virginia 1 has the Democrat who has won the nomination. Her name is Shannon Taylor. Let's tell you a little bit about Miss Taylor so you can understand who's representing Virginia 1 and hopefully help her as you can. Shannon Taylor has been Henrico County's top prosecutor. She has specifically gone after violent crimes. There's some impressive statistics that I have not confirmed, but according to the sources we have so far, she says that she has delivered a 90% homicide conviction rate. So she is going in as someone who is tough on crime. But that crime, I know, here's what's interesting about tonight. We're going to get a lot of flavors here, and all of us feel very differently about different issues. So I am presenting this as fact, not trying to persuade you with any candidates. I just want to say that as we get deeper into this evening. But here's the thing. So with Shannon Taylor, and congratulations to former prosecutor Taylor, she has been declared the victor this evening in the Democratic primary for Virginia's first congressional race in the first congressional district. Now, here's what I find interesting about her is that Ms. Taylor doesn't just believe in prosecuting violent criminals that are in her own backyard. She would like to bring that prosecutorial spirit into Congress. Specifically, she says that she would fight for a ban on members of Congress trading stocks while they are in office. She would like a lifetime ban on congressional members becoming lobbyists. That is tougher language than what we're used to seeing. And she has pledged to never take a dime of corporate PAC money in this campaign or while she is in Congress. Right now, she has already been declared the winner, and she is leading by about 33% of the vote while not taking corporate PAC money. So, again, congratulations on Virginia 1. Hi, Leah. Ms. Zentrist, I'm going to say I looked her up, and I would say she was a little bit of a tricky one for us to figure that out on progressive versus centrist because she received almost every endorsement across the board. So I would say that she's someone that hasn't really defined herself traditionally. I would say that banning lobbying and corporate stocks and things of Congress would be on the more progressive side. I would say prosecutors don't tend to skew progressive, but those tend to be public defenders. But that's a huge broad characterization that's not really fair, so just putting that out there. So I wouldn't clarify or classify her as either progressive or centrist. I would say that she's someone who has some very strong feelings about justice and corruption. So that was the selling point then bringing to you, right? Okay. All right, so we can call Virginia 1. All right. Our other Virginia race that we can call right now is Virginia House 2. Their polls closed earlier, so we have their poll results earlier. So this race has been declared, and the Democratic nominee in the second congressional district is Elaine Luria. Now, Elaine Luria, forgive me, I keep doing that. Elaine Luria. She doesn't have an R at the end of your name, guys. I keep doing this. It's going to happen all evening. It's going to be great. She was a congresswoman, then she got defeated, and now she's coming back to try to take the seat. Now, her blue wave probability rating, according to our team, the last one was 60%. This one is 75%. So we believe that she has an even stronger chance of flipping this seat. This would be a flip in the Virginia 2nd District. So let me tell you about Elaine Luria. Got it that time. Okay. So she outraised her opponents by a significant amount, having been in Congress before. These are her strongest platforms that we pulled for you. Again, this is Virginia's 2nd District, and congratulations to her. She has won the Democratic primary by, I mean, again, like 30 something points. What are we at here? By 60 points. Holy sweet moly. Okay, so she also believes that you should ban members of Congress and their families from trading stocks. So that's interesting, extending it to the family members there. Wants to end prediction market insider trading, a new topic that I think is going to get more and more heated up as we get not just through the midterms, but I think through the presidential. Prediction markets are going to be a huge topic. Now, here is something that I found interesting from former Congresswoman Luria. Wants to say that if a politician steals from taxpayers, I do not know the definition of this by her standards, they would face mandatory jail time. Wants to reform campaign finance laws and get dark money out of politics, and has fought for reproductive freedoms, right? Professor Liberty Esquire is like digging the little baseball card summaries that we're doing on this. Hopefully, you all are finding this helpful. So, welcome if you're just joining us to Political Fixer Live. It is election night. We're already at over 18,000 likes, and we haven't even gotten to the big shebang, which are some of the key races across the country and some amendments. Some constitutional amendments in different states. So we're looking at that. I want to wish a special hello to our viewers on YouTube and on just today, Twitch. So hello to Twitch. We've got more and more platforms, everybody. And more equipment. Have you noticed? It's gotten just a little bit crunchier around here as far as space, but that's okay. We love the Political Fixer studio. So here's what we're trying to do. We are trying to kind of humanize these races beyond red jersey, blue jersey, because right now the oxygen in the room is mostly taken up by the same 5 or 6 races that the media consistently reports on. And these people are fighting hard. They're running their races. And the more exposure we can get them, hopefully you'll connect to 2 or 3 of them and you're like, oh, that one speaks to me. And then you can start sharing information about them on your socials. You can start following their social accounts. And to help you with that, we started a platform called Political Fixer Fight.com. That's politicalfixerfight.com, where you can go look at the 50 fighters in the House and the Senate. We have 12 that you can look at. We're consistently adding more information and start spreading the word, right? Okay, so we're looking at Ohio. Okay, Ben Sims, I will give you the Ohio results in just a little bit. Michelle, we appreciate you as well. Okay, let's get you some more results here. I want to give you a result in Kansas. Now, this is interesting. I know we're going to look at Michigan soon. We're waiting on some of those results. We're going to switch over. But I want to talk to you about what's happening in Kansas because this might be something we end up talking about more. In this case, I want to tell you a little bit about the Republican and the Democratic side because here is the reality. And thank you again to our lovely political fixer team and to those at Bolts Magazine for their amazing research. Um, Kansas has not had a senator on the Democratic side of the aisle since 1932. Like we are closer to 100 years than anything else since Kansas has had a Democrat in the Senate seat, the U.S. Senate seat. But here's the thing: there's a few things that are happening that make Kansas not out of the realm of possibility. And honestly, I don't know how to tell you as far as how to hope about this. Let me give you some numbers. Okay, on the one hand, Kansas has a Democratic governor. So having someone win statewide on the Democratic ticket is not unheard of. It is something that could happen. On the other hand, in 2024, 47 took this state by, I think, 24 points. It is a very unusual state. It prides itself on independence. And there's a couple of things to note here. One of the things is that ballot initiatives tend to do really well. Sometimes your state governor ends up being a Democrat, but on the federal side, very, very red. Okay, so there's a couple of things I want to say. We're going to get a little bit into the soap opera on this, and this isn't just for reasons of gossip, but I want to caution anyone following this because I am still gathering information. Let's start on the GOP side. So the person who was endorsed by 47 is the former Senate president of the state of Kansas. We're talking about the Kansas nominee for U.S. Senate right now. We're saying, is this state in play for Kansas? Is it something that's gone completely under the radar until now? Here's what I know. We have on the Republican side someone who is MAGA enough to get the endorsement of 47. However, he's wounded. Now, I will tell you, I just want to confirm this. I believe we can call it for him. Yes, he did win. He won by around 20 points. So this is Ty Masterson. He has won the nomination on the Republican side for the Kansas Senate race. But it shouldn't have been that close. Like we were just talking about Democrats who won by 30, 60 points. Why was it within 20 points? A large victory, yes. But why was it so close for someone who was a former state Senate president, who had the endorsement of 47, who has MAGA credentials? Data centers. Ooh, I zigged when you thought I was going to zag, didn't I? Data centers, because Kansas has become the home of nearly 40 data centers in their state. Thank you for that. That kiss. I can't remember. Oh, the Nevs. Hey, the Nevs. Thank you for that. So here's the thing. It has started to drain resources, impact farming, drive up electricity rates, all of the things we've been reading about data centers. And guess who was responsible for pushing through tax breaks and loosening up the laws so that these 40 data centers could be built in Kansas? That's right, Ty Masterson. So he was facing an uphill climb and has some vulnerabilities. So again, we've got a state that sometimes swings when it feels like it, every once in a while, Democratic. However, we've got the situation where, it's not exactly likely. So what are we going to do here? Okay, so let me tell you what's happening on the Democratic side before you get too excited. On the Democratic side, you have a guy that I just want to confirm this. Yes, we can confirm he is the nominee. Just in, we have Adam Hamilton, who has won the Democratic nomination in Kansas to vie for the U.S. Senate seat. Is he someone that can do the unthinkable and flip Kansas for the first time in nearly 100 years? Remains to be seen. But we might be tested as a family on the vote blue, no matter who little situation. Let me tell you about Mr. Hamilton. And I want to say we have very little time to prep for this. We're going to be following this more now that he has secured the nomination. He is the pastor of a large Methodist church, and he was considering running as an independent and then got called to run as a Democrat. Not really sure on the specifics on that one. But here's the thing, he's involved in a little bit of an abuse scandal. Now, I want to be clear. He is not in any way himself accused of anything inappropriate. He is accused by political opponents and a few members of his former congregation of not handling an abuse scandal in 2008, I want to say, in the way that they would have liked it handled. He has since spoken out about this, Mr. Hamilton, or Pastor Hamilton, I guess I should say. And he has said that if he had it to do again, he would do it differently. But I wouldn't get too cozy with Kansas as a Senate seat right yet until we know a lot more information, until we get to put our investigative journalism hats on and our fact finding missions on. Yeah, Blanca Falcon is like, oh, wow. Yeah. Sweet and Spicy, 2008 is a long time ago, right? Different waters we were swimming in at the time. But nothing screams progressive to me. Let's just leave it at that. Like, is this is it better than the Senate president who's MAGA? Possibly, remains to be seen. So we're going to keep an eye on Kansas. But out of all the stories you thought I was going to cover this evening, myself included, thank you to Haren on our political fixer team for bringing me that one. Didn't expect to be talking about the Kansas Senate race. So that one is locked in. It will be former Senate president, state Senate president of Kansas, Ty Masterson, facing off against Pastor Mr. Alex. It's, you know what? It's Adam Hamilton, but you guys know I'm going to keep accidentally saying Alexander Hamilton like this whole time, right? Okay. Now, we're going to keep an eye on a number of things as we wait for more Michigan results to come in. We've got more. Welcome to everyone on Twitch and on YouTube. We've got so many results that are happening. We've got the Janine Pirro thing. I'm just going to litter in my office and just throw this on the floor for now. So many things happening. Okay, let's talk about, we called Virginia. Let's talk about some other things that are happening here. Kansas governor. Okay, I want to clarify something I'm saying here. Actually, Adam Masterson, my notes are incorrect. Adam Masterson is for the Kansas governor because their Democratic governor is terming out. And Hamilton, the Democrat on the Senate side, is the pastor. So we've got two people. They will not be facing each other. We have some information that was a little bit of wires crossed here between governor and the state Senate. So we're going to keep an eye on the state Senate, the U.S. Senate side, and see what's going on with Pastor Hamilton. Okay, let me see if we have any results on the Senate side. So let's pivot to Michigan, which I know so many of you would like to see. And then, yes, I will answer that Ohio question. Kay Bruno, the McConnell thing, I do not know what's going to happen, but I expect some things to change rapidly over the next few days, right? Dave Shannon says, if you start saying that Hamilton's running against Burr, then I will worry about you. Like, that is 100% fair. Okay, getting storm warnings in Florida. It's going to be a busy season, I think, here in Hurricaneville. Let's hope not. Let's hope not. Okay. So let's talk about Michigan. We're going to start with the Senate race, the U.S. Senate race. Now, I posted a TikTok today on this for any of you that saw it, but let's do a quick rundown for those of you that have not yet seen it or are new to Political Fixer. And welcome to Political Fixer Live. Those of you joining us, we're at already 26,000 likes, and we have not called even half of the races this evening. It is a busy, busy election night, and we've got a fun bonus story. I just picked one of the dumbest possible headlines that we live in the dumbest of timelines that we're going to do at the end for those of you that stick with us. So welcome to all of you jumping in. Okay. So hello to J Cook Tree. Good to see you. All right. So we only have 19% of the results in, and right now it is fairly close with El Said leading Stevens by about 7 points. Let me give you a lay of the land of what I am looking for in this race. So this Michigan U.S. Senate primary, on our blue wave probability scale, our political fixer probability scale, we believe that this is a 75% probability. And I believe that that is the case pretty much give or take 5 points, no matter who wins the nomination this time. I think that both of the candidates dug in their heels pretty deeply into the trench where they found themselves aligned. Haley Stevens, Congresswoman, who is more of the establishment Democrat, and she has received endorsements from a number of her colleagues and members of both the House and the Senate. And then Abdul El Said is a progressive who has definitely secured his fair share of the progressive endorsements. Now, the media is reporting this as a centrist versus a left race. But here's what I am looking for. This is the second most expensive US Senate race in a primary in Democratic history. There was only one race that had more spending on the primary, and that was in 2024 in California. I believe it was Schiff's race in California for the US Senate. So this is an expensive race. I mean, even by today's standards, it is the second most expensive Democratic primary for the US Senate in history. And over $70 million of those funds were spent by outside organizations, not by the campaigns themselves, largely by corporate PACs. And here's the thing, friends, out of the $70 million that was spent, over $50 million, so 5 out of 7 of those dollars, was spent trying to get Haley Stevens elected. And a large chunk of that change was spent by AIPAC. Now, I am not weighing in on that here. Some of you, if you are new, I am not weighing in on a 2,000-year-old Middle East conflict. It's not what we do here. It's not my job. I'm not an expert. I have nothing to offer besides vapid opinion. So I won't. You are free to think what you would like. Just please be very respectful in the timeline. One thing I can tell you is we will tolerate no Islamophobia nor anti Semitism here on the show. So you will be booted if those are your opinions. But as far as how you feel about this, I understand the passion on both sides. However, from a strategy perspective, if AIPAC spends tens of millions of dollars and then loses, what happens in the midterms? Because that shows that what they're doing is not working. Now, you can have feelings about that one way or the other. You could be like, yay, it's not working. Or you could be like, oh no, it's not working. And you're free to have either of those opinions. But from a strategy perspective, it would be very unusual for someone in the middle of our country, not New York, not California, to receive most of the establishment endorsements, to be a sitting federal office holder, a congresswoman, to receive 5 out of the 7 additional dollars with tens of millions spent and lose. And yet, that is exactly what might happen today. It is possible, and according to polls and prediction markets, likely that Haley Stevens might fall even with all of that establishment support, right? Um, Libby Sum is saying we need to change the way we do campaigns. Citizens United needs to go for a start. 100% agree. This should not be what is happening right now. Absolutely. And it's one of those things. On the one hand, it is disgusting the amount of money that gets spent on these things. It's disgusting the tactics that get used. I want to take a moment of personal privilege here, and I want to. I'm going to ask if downstairs if they can bring me my laptop charger because I guess that I don't have it and I don't want to lose our people on Twitch and YouTube. So if downstairs you're listening, if you could bring me my laptop charger, that would be great. And my apologies. Okay, just a little technical glitch. This is what happens when we simul stream in different locations. Okay, so one of you's going, okay, Kelly F, right? Is saying that her ads were very misleading. Point of personal privilege here as we talk about this. I want to say a special happy birthday to one of the men that I used to work for, former President Barack Obama. Very proud to have served on most notably his 2007 2008 campaign for 23 months of my life. We call the Obama campaign our second child. It's why mine is an only half kidding. So a special happy birthday to former President Obama. And on that note, wishing him many, many more healthy years as he is the youthful age of 65, which is crazy to me thinking about how long he's been in public service already at age 65. And it's relevant to this story because one of the super PACs sent out a mailer implying that Haley Stevens had been endorsed by President Obama. Absolutely not true. It was absolutely not true. Now, I want to be clear to say campaigns are not responsible for what super PACs send on their behalf, but it was something that I have the plug here. Thank you. As we just deal with the tech, look at us multitasking together, folks. It is not the campaign's responsibility to kind of govern what the super PACs do. In fact, they legally cannot. But at the same time, it just shows, to Libby Sum's point, how outrageous, thank you, how outrageous the campaigns have gotten and how out of control they are. And this is just a taste, right? This is just a start to what we're going to see in the midterms. Here's the positive things. Um, a Answers for You says they should be held responsible. They should be, but legally not. They can't be, because they're not even supposed to be coordinating their things, and they can't tell them what to do. They can publicly disavow a super PAC in something that they say, but that's kind of a trick of the business, right? Now, I also want to be very transparent here. Very transparent. I run two super PACs. Okay. I'm not above reproach. We try to do things the right way. We disclose all of our donors. We take in no dark money. We stand behind all of our work. My face is on everything. In fact, I do half of our ads. One of them is Equal Rights Now, to try to finally get equal rights for women in the Constitution as citizens, just something new we're trying after 250 years. And then the other one is Political Fixer PAC, for things like this. So I want to be very upfront that I run two super PACs, but we try to do things on the level. And I am very much like, I'm not bringing a knife to a gunfight. So that's on me. And, just want to say, yes, Answers for You, the ERA, our super PAC is Equal Rights Now. So equality, that would be nice. Square Foot Gardening is just like, pondering the possibilities, right? At 65, Obama would have been born during JFK. Oh, Jay Cook, that's such a good point for context. I love that. So, okay, so I agree super PACs need to be reformed. Here's my bright silver lining, however. They're not good at this. They're not good at this. Let me explain something to you all. When we run our super PACs, we stretch a dollar. I grew up with not a lot of money in the deep south of a small town in Texas. I can stretch a dollar. You give me $5,000 and I'll make sure everybody sees our ads. We ran a campaign during the hurricane, after the hurricane, in the aftermath of the hurricane in 2024, to make sure that people who were impacted by the hurricane knew how to turn in their ballots, because some of them had mail ballots that went to a house that no longer existed. We hit every human in every county for less than $20,000. And yet these campaigns, these super PAC campaigns, are spending tens of millions of dollars potentially to lose. That is crazy to me. So, bad sign. They have that much money. They're corrupting our politics, all of the things. Good sign. They're really bad at their jobs. If their job is super villaining, they're really bad at the jobs, right? So, we're going to keep an eye on that. So, right now, let me give you a status on the Senate race. We have El Said up by around 7 points, only 21% in. We are looking for a couple of things. Who ends up winning is, of course, the top thing that we're looking at, but we're also looking at margin of victory. And then I have read, unconfirmed, but I have read by a reliable source, that Mayor Pete is flying in. Mayor Pete is flying in, and he's got one job to do in Michigan after the results are finalized this evening, and that is to bring these two camps together so that they can unify and win the election in November. So they sent in the great communicator himself, Mayor Pete, to try to mend some fences, smooth some bridges, and every other communications metaphor that I could give you right now, right? Professor Liberty Esquire says that they assume, the PACs assume, that money alone will do it, right? So Jay Cook says, how do we get resources? Okay, so we are going to be running some parallel campaigns in Michigan, and specifically in the Senate seat, but we have some other fighters that we'll be talking about. So here's what I'm going to suggest. This is a great opportunity to tell you we will be on the air live next Tuesday, when we don't have 55 elections to cover, to talk more in depth about what you can do and how to get involved. You can look at Political Fix or Fight. It costs you absolutely nothing. If you want to give, that's great. Every dime is going to go through these efforts. And we're working on getting individual fundraising pages up by next week, so you can even tell us where you want it spent. So maybe there's a candidate there that you like, but you don't like others. You can tell us. I will also tell you, secret preview for my Political Fixer Live people, if you want to get hired by Political Fixer PAC and make money on the side as someone to help us fundraising, we are going to be hiring consultants, and you will get a portion of what you raise. So look for all of that next week. Second thing I want to tell you, we're going to be talking a lot more about this on another live program that we're doing this Friday at noon Eastern. That is 9 a.m. on the West Coast. We are doing another live program that we are starting this week now through the midterms, the Shauna Presley Virtue Show, where we are going to be talking about, yes, politics, but other things we're working on, including the Equal Rights Amendment, other news items that are happening that are not politically related. And also, we're going to be working in some other things on making sure we take care of the caregivers. So, we're going to be talking about Fearless Voice and those campaigns as well. So, um, so we are going to be doing this live. And so good job. So okay, people saying who they voted for. Thank you all to all of you who voted, no matter what happens. Let's cover some other races while we wait for the Senate seat to come in. So we'll hold on to that. Okay, let's talk about Michigan 4. This is this is one of our fighters. So this is one of our top 50 seats that the Political Fixer team has identified as as a seat to watch. Let me remind you of the math. I'm going to keep saying it over and over again. We only need 24 out of the 50 to win. And if that happens, we win control of the House. 24 out of the 50, right? Hello, Lo-Fi Junkie, right? Hello, Answers. I'm so happy that Mike ducked during lunch. That's why we did it, TH fan. And we tried to do it whereas during lunch on the East Coast and then on the West Coast when you're starting your mornings. And then if you miss the stream, that's okay. It will be posted on YouTube and it will be free for everybody to watch, right? And yes, Minnesota is next week. We've got so much to cover next week, but not as much as this week. So we'll fit some other homework in. Okay, Minnesota 4. We are looking at two candidates. So we're looking on the Democratic side who will take the nomination. This is one of our fighters, no matter who wins. We looked at this. We liked both candidates. So we felt comfortable declaring this one of our fighter seats, no matter who wins. Interesting fact about this race. This again is Michigan 4. Um, both people running are members of the Potawatomi tribe. So both are from Native peoples, indigenous. Found that very unusual and interesting. Just to give you a quick highlight, Sean McCann, who is currently leading, but it's very early in. We've only got 2% in. He is a state senator, and Diop Harris is a former congressional staffer of Sherrod Brown. I have been joking with my team all day. What are you doing bringing an Ohio person into Michigan? That is, I know that a lot of us love Sherrod Brown, but Ohio, Michigan, especially this close to football season, come on, kids. I don't know. So we'll wait and see. Just so you know, this is something that we consider to be a 60% probability with our Political Fixer Blue Wave probability scale. We believe Michigan 4 is of 60% probability, way too early to call, though McCann is leading right now. Oh, yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's Michigan 4. We'll keep an eye on that one. Michigan 7. Let's pivot to Michigan 7. And welcome to those of you that are coming in on Political Fixer Live. It's election night. We've got a lot to cover, and we're getting a lot of good conversation in the meantime. So you've come at a great time. Okay. So Michigan 7, you guys know some of the players here. You have Tom Barrett is the incumbent. So this is Michigan 7, and this is more of the establishment Dem, so to speak. I would say this is a gradient scale. Certain parts of Michigan tend to skew more progressive than others. So, gradient scale here. But William Lawrence is someone who has been endorsed by Bernie Sanders, El Said. So you've got a more progressive candidate in William Lawrence. In fact, he is a co-founder of the Sunrise Movement. And if you're not familiar with the Sunrise Movement, this is like Green New Deal, getting power out of corporate billionaires and more into the hands of voters. The Sunrise Movement is extremely progressive. I wouldn't say it's leftist. To me, there's a difference. They want the Green New Deal. They just want a clean planet and for us to not be, beholden to billionaires in the process. So, and then you have you also have Matt Maasdam, Maasdam. He is a former Navy SEAL, and he's backed by different establishment Democrats that I would say are more in the center than Lawrence. So here's what's interesting about Michigan 7. It's essentially a three-way tie. This is highly unusual. Now, the strategist in me is wondering why no one in the Michigan Democratic Party didn't say, hey, could one of you run for something else? Because if you've got 3 strong candidates that can run for Congress, kind of a failure of the party that they couldn't get even one of them to go consider another seat somewhere that didn't have as many great people running. So in my estimation, based on the research we have, you have Mazdam, who's more centrist Dem. Then you have Lawrence, who's the incumbent, and then you have no, I'm sorry, Lawrence is the progressive, and then Tom Barrett is the current person sitting there in the incumbent. So we're looking at Michigan House 7 and looking to see what happens, to see how progressive this district swings. We've got about 30% of the vote in, and it is a very slim margin. They about 4 points separates all of them, about seven, right? It does seem strange answers for you. This just the again, the strategist in me is like, why did you let this happen? Okay. So that's Michigan 7. We're going to keep an eye on that. Now, that is also a race that we are backing again. Or I may not have said this before, but Michigan 7, we had said that Michigan 1 is about 60% probability we can win. Again, we only need 24. Um, so Michigan 1 was 60% probability. Michigan 7 is 75% probability. This is a high probability that we can win. So we're going to be backing whoever wins this. We've checked them all. We saw no huge red flags. And so we're waiting to see who that fighter candidate is going to be. Anita says, I lost faith in the party when they ran Crockett and Tallarico against each other. It's interesting because you've got strong willed people that want to make a difference. They've all got different people in their ear, and they've all got their own audiences, as well as supporters, as well as donors. It's really hard to talk someone out of that once they've got it in their mind, they're going to do it, right? Wisconsin also has a vote coming up. Yes, absolutely. That one's going to be interesting. We've got a few primaries that are stacked here in August. Good to see you, TH Fannin. Okay, so Guava Girl, I know there's a lot of interesting things happening. The party seems to be swinging more progressive. We'll see. Not all of the states and communities and congressional districts move at the same speed, but we're looking to see what's happening in Michigan, which is a very interesting state, a purple state in a lot of different ways. Okay, let's look at Michigan 8. This is another political fixer fighter race. We didn't intend to spend this much of our energy in Michigan, but there's just a lot of good seats up for grabs here. This one, okay, this is a crazy story. All right. So we confirmed everything about 50 times with this seat. And it looks like it's going to get crazier looking at these results. I will bring all of you in on the joke. Okay, so here's the deal with Michigan 8. We already know the Democrat, they did not have a primary. So a congratulations again to the presumptive nominee who did not have a competitor on the Democratic side. This is an incumbent. Her name is Kristen McDonald Rivet. McDonald Rivet is a fun name to say 50 times when you're building this, by the way, as we were researching it. Let me give you a little bit about Miss McDonald Rivet. She is the incumbent. Her father was a construction worker, and she caught my attention because she was the former executive director of Head Start, a program for children, and she became the chief of staff of the Department of Education of the state of Michigan. She has fought almost a good chunk of her career on trying to advance education initiatives in Michigan and also to provide affordable and better childcare options for parents. She has fought to protect the rights of women, including our access to healthcare and reproductive freedom. But here is something that I found really positive, in my opinion, not asking you all to adopt this, but in my opinion, when she served in the state senate of Michigan, the state senate, one of the first things that she not only championed but got passed was a common sense gun violence prevention bill through the Michigan Senate. And if you've ever spent time with people in Michigan, again, it's a very purple state, partially because you have a lot of urban areas and then the suburban sprawl, but you also have still a lot of rural communities. And so getting successfully people to come together on a gun sense violence prevention act is a huge accomplishment. So if you would like, take a look at Kristen McDonald Rivet. She is one of our fighters, and this is in Michigan 8. Now, where it becomes a little bit of a soap opera is who she might be facing against. And I'm going to be following this closely this evening. There's only 2% in, but let me tell you who was leading in the polls when we went online to air. And it's causing a little bit of drama in the MAGA side of the household. We've done a lot of talking about Democratic soap operas this evening, and now it is the GOP's turn. The person who received the endorsement from 47 for this congressional seat, and again, we're talking about Michigan's 8th district, His name is Amir Hassan. And if you, like me, are surprised to see an Amir Hassan who is endorsed on the Republican side, that ain't nothing yet. We've got more information about, right? Professor goes, oh, okay. So this is a veteran who served in at Guantanamo Bay and said that he would like to combat terrorism. He apparently was raised, according to him, in a Christian household and then became Muslim. And then, as far as our research could take us, became a Christian again in April. Now, I want to be really clear. I do not want to venture into any, religious hate or stereotypes or Islamophobia. What I am simply saying is in this year of 2026 of Al Gore's internet, the fact that with this administration, a Muslim candidate who became a Christian yesterday, named Amir Hassan, received the endorsement of 47 was something we verified in not one, not two, but three news sources before we came on to bring that information to you. This is what I'm saying, and I'll leave it at that. Now, he announced that endorsement, and the polls have Hassan at way leading, like by like 90 points. Actually, I can tell you right now, the markets have him at 92%. Now, that's not 92 poll points, that's 92% of people who are betting in these markets believe that he will win the Republican nomination. But Truth Social and other websites exploded with the types of things that you think that they might explode with when that endorsement was announced. And I can tell you, we are looking to see, it's very, very early, but we might have some surprises in Michigan 8. So we'll keep an eye on that. And that, here's what I'll say, our probability of Michigan 8 is 70. Depending who wins, I might bump that up. I'm just going to leave that there just based on what we know, right? Okay. Answers for you. Listen, I can give you an honest answer in my opinion. He is extremely transphobic, and I think that that caught the eye of people who are also extremely transphobic, and we'll just leave that there. But that is basically his claim to fame, the best that we could tell. So forget all it, like, practice whatever faith you like or none. We respect all. It's an unusual choice based on what's happening and all of the bigotry coming out of the White House right now, but okay. It'd be great if they got more open-minded about this. But I do think that was his claim to fame. Let's look at a race that we do not know how it's going to turn out. We're going to check back in on the Senate race really fast. If my laptop thing will decide to scroll. Okay, we have 23% of the vote in on the Senate seat. Not much has changed. It's a little tighter than we were anticipating as part of the evening, with El Said up by 6, but it is very early. Again, only 23% in. And keep in mind that more of the urban side of things tend to report later because more votes to count. So, just the thing. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Okay. So let's talk about Michigan House 10, because this is another one where we came in not really knowing who was going to emerge victorious here. We again only have 23% of the vote, but let me tell you who we think may emerge from this, which is Michigan 10. This is a race with what we believe with our political fixer blue wave probability scale. We believe it's going to be a 60% probability, a tough fight for whoever emerges this evening. So this is Christina Hines. We believe, we're keeping an eye on her. We do not know, good luck to all of the people competing in the seat. But if you would like to know something about her, she is another prosecutor. Michigan, well, across the country, we're seeing multiple prosecutors that are coming up and deciding to run for office. She has specifically prosecuted successfully against hate crimes and trafficking, and has also started a restorative justice program in Michigan. So Christine Hines is who we're taking a look on in Michigan 10. It is way too early to call Hines. Yes, Hines, right? Good to see you, Libby. Thanks so much for joining us. Okay, for those of you just joining us, congratulations. You have stumbled upon a live election night coverage this evening with Political Fixer Live. And hello to our new friends on YouTube Live and on Twitch. We're so happy to have you. We have over 43,000 likes this evening, and we have blown through this hour, and we do not have all the results. So we're going to keep going a little bit. Welcome to everyone, indeed, bippity boppity boo. Let's go ahead and we're going to do a quick rundown of 3 seats that are likely to be Democratic seats. Whoever wins this evening is very likely to be a congressperson in the midterms. I'm going to go through those results in Michigan really fast for you so you kind of have an understanding of some of these names. And again, none of this is automatic. These people are still working really hard in these contests. So support whoever you feel called to support. These are not our top 50 races because we felt like they didn't really need our particular support in what we're trying to do. But let me go ahead and acquaint you with these 3 people right now. One of them has already been called. I can call right now. It popped up in front of me. I can call thanks to DDHQ. House 11. I want to congratulate Jeremy Moss, who is a state senator. He has been backed by a number of Michigan's leaders, including outgoing Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Faruqi, and others who ran more on the left. Ran a really good race, but I can tell you that right now with 68% of the vote in, it is going to be Jeremy Moss. This is a +9 seat according to the Cook report, which means in our eyes this is almost 100% likely to go to Dems unless something dramatic happens. And so we consider this to be probably safely in the Dem seat, but please help whoever you can. Good to see those hearts, Dana Point Life. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And so Michigan US 11, we can call right now for Jeremy Moss, and that is a +9 Democratic seat. As of now, that's the voter makeup. When we are talking about +9, this is just based on how the voters lie and how they tend to vote, not a poll. That's not a poll. So I just want to be really, really close, right? Okay. So on another seat in Michigan, let's talk about Michigan 12. This is something that we had our eyes on, but it looks like Rashida Tlaib, though she faced some challengers. The infamous squad member, Rashida Tlaib, has been also declared the winner in Michigan US House seat 12. She only has 18% of the vote in and is currently leading by around 40 points. So although the others ran a good race. And again, congratulations to everyone who ran. I can tell you that the incumbent Rashida Tlaib, that squad member, is likely safe. And remember, I just said the other one was probably safe with a +9 Democratic rating. This one is a +21. +21. So Rashida Tlaib is in all likelihood safe. Okay, so that is Michigan 12. And then running down the board to Michigan 13. And then we're going to look at some new results. And we've got a constitutional amendment coming up. So that's going to be our next thing. This one has not been called. It is way too early. We only have 5% of the vote in. But let me tell you a bit about Michigan 13. There is a state representative, Donovan McKinney, who has a lot more of the progressive support, including Rashida Tlaib and Bernie Sanders. And he is trying to oust the incumbent. Now, this is interesting because you have an incumbent Democrat. This seat is a +22. So we're going to be keeping an eye on Michigan House 13. Let me give you that scenario again. A Democrat is currently sitting in this seat. It is a very Democratic district, +22 in Michigan. And we are talking about the Michigan 13 seat. There is a multimillionaire centrist, Sri Thenadar, who is in this seat, and a more progressive state representative, who is Donovan McKinney, has received endorsements from, among others, Bernie Sanders, and is trying to oust him. Way too early to see what happens, but I'm looking at early numbers, and we're going to keep a close eye on Michigan 13 to see if we have another situation like we did in New York, where someone more to the left ousts a sitting congressperson. Ms. Zentris is like, whoa, yeah. Bippity Bobbity Boo is like, yeah. So early, we don't know yet what's going to happen. So I want to be careful about that. But yeah, okay. While we're on the subject of the squad, let's check in with Missouri 1. This was interesting because a former member of the squad's Cori Bush, she had been defeated previously by Wesley Bell. She was trying to make a good comeback here. And I will tell you that right now that did not happen because Wesley Bell has safely secured this nomination. Again, this race has been called. This is Missouri House Seat 1, and her attempt at a comeback, Cori Bush, has fallen short. by a significant margin, it looks like. And this is a D plus 29, which I did not know existed before today. So this is a D plus 29 seats. So we might as well congratulate Congressman Wesley Bell for holding that seat, right? So I will tell you, like, listen, here's what I'll say is my inside information. My politics aside for a second, um, I have heard that certain individuals are tough to work with. And so that sometimes makes it difficult to campaign on their behalf. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay. While we're on the state of Missouri, there is a huge amendment that we all need to be paying attention to. So this is an amendment that has been proposed in the state of Missouri that I believe, if it passes, is big trouble, especially for those of us that reside in a redder state. Here is what is happening. Missouri has passed a number of constitutional amendments in the last several years. I'm going to tell you, just in the last few years, they voted 53% to expand Medicaid coverage. That was in 2020. In 2022, they voted to legalize cannabis by 53%. These are statewide amendment ballot initiatives that passed. They raised the minimum wage in 2024. They repealed the ban on abortion in 2024, and they legalized sports betting by a smidge, by 50%. None of those things would have happened if this amendment had been in place at the time. And I want to again acknowledge Bolts Magazine, the independent journalism organization that brought this to our attention. Okay, so here's what it would look like. And this is terrifying to me. Other states, including Florida, have gone so far as to say that a 51% or 50 plus 1% is no longer enough to pass a constitutional amendment. I believe Florida raised it to 60%, which is crazy, and they've made it very difficult. Missouri has outdone even the red states. Their proposed constitutional amendment would mean that no new amendment to the Constitution could get passed unless it not only got past 50%, but it got past 50% in every congressional district. This is Amendment 4 in Missouri that we're keeping an eye on. This is something that they tried to bundle with a lot of other stuff and kind of hide other things. I can only imagine the commercials that the poor people of Missouri have been subject to in the last several months, because they said, like, oh, it's really about petition fraud. Okay, this one scared me, but I can tell you we have some great news. As of just a few moments ago, I can report that Amendment 4, the one that would have made it basically impossible for them to revise their own constitution as citizens, has failed, and failed by a large margin. There is only 52% of the vote right now that has been in, but it right now failed by about 60 points. It is 79 to 20. 79 to 20. It turns out when you try to take rights away from voters and then put it up for a vote, it doesn't work. Now, a couple of things I want to say here. Yay, True Blue, indeed. Yes. Okay, but a couple of things. First, it's not an accident that they brought this up and put it on midterms. They thought the turnout would be low and they could sneak it in. So I would look for this to be something that they try in other states at other times. This was their first bite at the apple. I do not think that this particular Hydra, all of the heads have been lopped off. Let's just put it like that. So be careful with this one. I don't think it's done yet. Keep your ear to the ground in future election cycles for this type of thing, with all of the congressional districts having to agree. Seriously, when would that happen in any state where all of the congressional districts, you could be like, I think the Beatles are a great band, and someone would be like, no, they are not, and here's why. Someone could be like, I think Barbie was a good movie, blockbuster, best. No, and I will tell you why. No congressional districts will ever agree on anything. You're not ever going to have that happen, and that is the point. They don't want for the people to be able to amend the Constitution that governs them, right? Okay. So, yes, agree. They thought wrong. Answers for you. They tried to bring it up in the midterms. They're sneaky. It didn't work, but keep an eye out for that other Next head of the Hydra. I'm just telling you, we're not done with this particular beast. I can feel it. We're going to see it in other states in the future. Okay, let's check in on a couple of other things here. We're going to check in on the Michigan Senate race. Slow on the results coming in. We are at 24% in, so way too early for anything of note. But I can tell you that Asaid, Asaid, what is wrong with me today? El Said is leading by 6 points. I need more caffeine. I should have had someone plug me in when they brought the plug up here. Okay. Let's do a quick check down of the ones that we're looking at with this. We've got just 2% in on Michigan House 4, so we have nothing much on there. I can tell you it's starting to take shape. That one that I told you was like a three-way tie. Maybe something taking shape here. We have the more progressive candidate, the co-founder of the Sunrise Movement, William Lawrence. He is currently leading by 9 points. So it's very interesting. It's 39, 30, 30. So again, only 35% of the vote is in. That's a lot of 30s I'm going through and saying. So this is Michigan 7. It is a three-way tie-ish going into this, and we're waiting to see which of the candidates emerges. So we're keeping an eye on Michigan 7. Let's check in on Amir on the Republican side. Still only 7% in on that one. So we do not know who's representing the GOP in District 8. And then we're looking to see how Hines is doing in Michigan 10. It looks like she so far is doing well. It's still early. She's only leading by about 10 points, so it's too early to call. But with 26% of the vote, Christina Hines, the prosecutor, seems to be leading in Michigan. Okay. We've gone through 11, 12, and 13 with the Democrats that we believe will be representing us in those. So in Michigan 11, again, congratulations to Jeremy Moss. In Michigan 12, congratulations to Rashida Tlaib. And on Michigan 13, we do not know yet who is going to win. Either the incumbent. Oh, I can tell you. Actually, they just called it. Very strange. McKinney is leading in the current vote total with 5% in, but they must have some really good exit polls because the incumbent, who is Shri Thanadar, they've called the race for him. They've called the race for Shri. So the incumbent in Michigan 13 has not been ousted by Bernie Sanders. So that one stays the way that it was. Okay. We're going to keep an eye on a couple of things. We're looking at 7 and on the Democratic side, 8 on the 8 on the Republican side, 7 on the Democratic side, and then the Michigan Senate. We're going to keep an eye on those for those of you that stuck with us for this very exciting election night special. I had promised to tell you who we're looking at on Ohio, and I might not be able to tell you that right now, but if you want to know the seats in Ohio, go to politicalfixerfight.com and you can actually search. There's a little table there. You can say, see all of the fighters, and you can do a filter for Ohio. I am terrified if I touch something here, I'm going to break it because this is our first time streaming live to Twitch. And it took us a little while to figure it out, hence all of the wires and things that you see coming everywhere. So I don't want to break it. And hello to all of you on TikTok and on YouTube as well. I've got my fun story for you that's not so fun. It's just not so fun, but it's who doesn't love high blood pressure now and then? So our high blood pressure story is coming up in a moment, but I want to make sure to remind you that we are going to be on the air live again next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. And we're doing an extra live broadcast. And this one is going to be specifically for Twitch and YouTube. So find us at Political Fixer on either Twitch or YouTube at Political Fixer. And you'll be able to see us at noon on Friday on the East Coast, and we'll start our day together at 9 a.m. on the West Coast. It'll be fun, and everywhere in between, right? In Michigan, it is, let's see, Michigan, so it would be 9 p.m. Eastern, so parts of Michigan, it would be at 8, but most of Michigan would be 9, and if you're asking when polls closed at 8 p.m. local time in Michigan, and that is why some of these results are delayed because they have 4 counties, I believe, in Michigan that are in central time and they don't do all of the reports and everything until all of the polls are closed, right? So we're waiting on that. Okay. If you happen to be up, speaking of times, if you happen to be up in, say, 2:30ish in the morning today, East Coast time, which would be what, 11:30 for all of you West Coasters? If you happen to be up that late, then I would suggest you borrow a telescope or at least look upwards and see if we still have a moon. I can't believe this is a real headline I'm about to share with all of you, but our most notorious was a trillionaire for about 5 minutes. Elon Musk is at it again. Our weird story of the evening, as we wait for more of these election results to hit, is that Elon Musk is hurling space garbage at the moon. And this is a real headline that I'm saying out loud. Let me give you the lowdown of what's happening. Last January, not this past January, but January of 2025, there was a launch of an aerospace lunar mission. I don't know the details. I know that it is around 45 feet long. It weighs at about 8,000 pounds, and I know that they don't need it anymore, so they're just going to crash it into the moon in the name of science, meaning they didn't have a way to get it back inexpensively and decided to just hurl it and see what happens. So right now, there are high-end telescopes and science centers and astronomy centers, all waiting to see what happens when you hurl thousands of pounds of a rocket that no longer functions into the moon. Yes, bippity boppity. I right. My yes, insane, insane. Carrie, yes. So we're waiting to see what happens. Here's what we are expecting to have happen. What we are expecting to have happen is that there might be a brief flash of light when it strikes. The approximate time is 2:35 a.m. Eastern time that it's expected to hit. There are space scientists and all kinds of people from all around the world that are going to be studying this impact. They expect for rock pieces to go flying. And while they don't expect anything significant to happen, they do believe that the debris, and I want to get this correct, that the debris will raise up to 60 miles over the atmosphere of the moon. Now, what happens with a moon when you have that hurled towards it? We don't know. How long does the garbage that it creates, the debris? I mean, we've talked about moon rock, they've talked about ash and dirt. I'm assuming it's not going to land in one piece. So now you've got metal and scraps, and I don't even know what kind of chemicals floating around the moon, right? So, yeah, we have a lot of homework to do. And aside from just, I thought this was a story that I felt like I was going insane reading and needed for you all to hear it too, just to test and tether my own sanity. That is one of the reasons that I'm bringing this up. But there's another reason. We're talking about primaries and it gets really spirited. We talk about who our favorites are. We talk about wanting them to be more or less of a centrist or a progressive, support one country over another, make sure that they are in line with our mission and values. I would like all of that too. But I would also like to have a governing body that will stop someone from hurling thousands of pounds of space garbage at the moon. So we need to lock in. We need to lock in. And I need all of you to help me be as accountable as anyone else. I will tell you there are red lines we will not cross. As a political fixer team, it got very contentious the day that we decided we were not going to support Graham Plattner no matter what, that we would just simply pick another Senate seat. I said that man might get elected, but it's not going to be by me. So there are red lines. We will not help abusers. We will not help people like that we feel like are overtly corrupt. There are lines to the blue no matter who thing. Comma and we really need 24. We need those 24. So I'm going to encourage you when you can go to politicalfixerfight.com. It is a work in progress. We are working frantically to get as much there as we can. You don't need to love all of them. I don't. I don't think that all of them are my favorite, but I think we need 24. So pick the 3 or 4 that speak to you and do what you can to share their story, to talk about their race, to share why you think it's winnable. And we'll provide you all of the cheat sheets to do just that. Because what's happening right now is they don't have enough money. The Democratic establishment is going through its own little growing pains right now. And the person taking up the most oxygen in the room is sitting in the White House. And now we've got about 5 or 6 seats that are taking up all the rest of that 20% of media coverage that's left. No one knows that these people exist. So the best thing you can do is find someone whose stories you connect with and then try to share those stories and build up support and try to do what we're trying to do a bit as we cover these races. We're going to cover more of our fighters. We're going to do a few every week. Nothing like tonight. Tonight was a marathon for sure. We ran through a lot of them in very quick time. Marathon sprint. I don't know which is the right one there. A little bit of both. Not like tonight. We're going to just do a few at a time, but we're going to bring their stories to you. We are going to make an active, good faith pitch to you on all of them, hoping that you will be inclined to put some of your efforts and also share your audience's trust, whether that be your family or your community members, and try to get attention on some of these races. Okay, so good to see you. All right, so as we cross the 58,000th like, we're going to do another rundown on these Michigan races and see if we have anything else to call. And again, to recap, I have the Missouri Amendment to try to limit their ability to change their constitution in their own state. That amendment failed wholeheartedly. I have another fun one that just came across my desk that Haren found as well. I can't call it yet, but I can tell you where it's looking. There is a township in Michigan, Augusta Township, and they were voting to on a data center. Now this is in the Ann Arbor area. So you have a mixture of urban, suburban, and rural. And they were voting on that data center. And right now it's early. I don't know how early, but it looks pretty early. But it looks right now that that data center will be defeated. It's right now 89 to 10. 89 to 10. On the other hand, we do not have all of the answers yet on Michigan. Let's talk about the two Senate seats, the two House seats, and then we'll check in on the Michigan Senate. For fun, let's check in on Michigan 8. We're looking at the Republican side of this because it's got an interesting story here where we only have 8% of the vote, but 47 endorsed Amir Hassan, who is a Guantanamo Bay serving veteran who was just called to fight terrorism in a different way and converted to Christianity to do it, folks. So we are keeping an eye on him, who's causing a little bit of a kerfluffle in the MAGA camp. Right now, very, very early, only 8% in. Do not read anything into these results, but I can tell you that the endorsed candidate, Amir Hassan, is losing to a Smith. This is so sad. I don't even know Smith's first name. I do not know male or female because everybody thought Hassan had it. So we'll keep an eye on this, but they're leading him by 15 points right now. Way too early. But this could end up to be an interesting night on what happens with that one. Okay. I feel bad too because no matter what, like this guy is just in for so much toxicity in his future. But then he's transphobic, so it's like, okay. On Michigan 7, then we are keeping an eye on this on the Democratic side because this is essentially a three-way tie, and you've got kind of centrist, middle, and then more progressive of the three candidates that are vying for this seat. And with Michigan 7, this is a 75% probability that a Democrat can win the seat, so we're keeping a close eye on it. Right now, it is still very close. We've got about 37% of the vote in, and you have the more progressive candidate, William Lawrence, at about 38%. You have Brink, who is at 31%, and then you have who I would consider the more moderate candidate, Matt Mosdem, and he is at 30%. So you got 38, 31, 30, way too early, way too soon at 37%. And so keep an eye on Michigan House 7. We're going to be backing whichever of those candidates win as one of our top fights. Again, this is a 75% probability. They're going to need our help to get across that finish line, whoever it is. And if that doesn't move you, it's okay. Just pick another 24. Okay. And we have no more news to report on the U.S. Senate side with El Said. He is currently leading by 6 points, but only 27% of the vote is in. I want to thank Kalshi for letting us use their results on this. I want to tell you that coming into this, El Said had a lot of big expectations. He has a lot of wind at his back. Every poll that I saw had him up between 14 and 19 points. My understanding through credible sources is that Haley Stevens received a call from her pollster saying, "We don't see a path for you." And in fact, the top market of Kalshi, who was allowing us to use their numbers for this and for some of our content, the top market was not who will win. The top market was, will El Sayed win by more than 15 points or not? So this looked like a slam dunk. It's early, it's 27 points, but he's got some pretty big expectations, because now if he wins by only 5 or 6, there's already going to be chatter, right? So um so it is very interesting to see what's happening with all of this family conversation. We're going to be doing these political fixer lives. We're going to continue to do them on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be beefing up our content a lot because we just cannot get through all of it in a week on 1 hour. We just cannot do it. And so part of that is going to be, we're going to be bringing back a new season of the podcast. And then we are also going to be doing another live program that talks about politics, equal rights for women, and other interesting social justice and self care topics on Fridays at noon Eastern on Twitch and on YouTube. And then we have two other big announcements that we're going to be making in a matter of days. So if you haven't done it already, please follow me at Political Fixer. Make sure that we stay connected and try to let's I'm trying to, when you guys are on there and you get finished, I try to go through and follow anyone that I'm not following yet. So definitely ping me if I haven't followed you back yet. Some of you, I get messages and it says you're a private account, which I respect. But I do try to follow all of you, and I want to try to promote your content as well. We definitely need more of your voices out there. And if you are interested in getting more involved in having your content elevated and amplified, if you want to get more involved in the fundraising, if you want to get more involved in one of our efforts, there's a lot of opportunity to do that as well. Wow, big night, big night, big night. We're going to see what happens with these. I want to do one other number for you before we sign off. We talked a lot about the House races. That was a big focus for tonight because there were so many of them. We talked about how 24 of the 50 gets us across the finish line, where Democrats will regain control of the House and try to at least slow down the nonsense that is coming from the Oval Office right now. That is the thing. And I will tell you that we looked at the markets today. The markets and the polls all believe that Democrats, even with the infighting, even with the issues that we're all reading about with the drama and somebody threw a phone and someone doesn't like someone else, all of that is their problem, not our problem. I will say that the Democratic establishment is having some problems. But the Democratic people, the independent people, the more centrist Republican people, we've got it down. We've got it all figured out. We are not the problem. And our numbers look really, really good. Senate is a little bit of a different story. We've identified 12 of the top Senate seats that we will be following. No, Kansas was not among them, though we'll keep an eye on that and let you know. But we have got 12 of the top Senate seats we've been following. We would need 8 of them, 8 of the 12, to regain control of the Senate. Now, whatever happens in Michigan tonight, whether you are thrilled by the results or disappointed by them, there are still several other races for you to choose from. But there is a path to winning control of the Senate that does not involve Texas, that does not involve Michigan, right? We need 24 of the 50. That's right, Jake Cook, for House majority, for Senate majority. So we actually did not vote for to support Plattner, but once Plattner was off the ticket, I will tell you this: we had a top 10. We had a top 10 for the Senate seats, and then two events changed that to 12. One is that Plattner was no longer on the ballot, so we brought Maine back as one of our top races, and so that is now. So that brought us to top 11. And then when Lindsey Graham passed away and just decided to hand his sister a Senate seat with zero experience, and then we looked at Dr. Annie, as I call her, to on the Democratic side to try to replace her. South Carolina is not as far apart as people believe, and South Carolina is getting a lot of attention and funding that they don't normally get because they were named the first state that the Democrats are going to kick off with their presidential primary, something that was secured in large part by the efforts of Clyburn. So, with South Carolina receiving so much national attention and so much funding and being in such good favor, don't sleep on South Carolina. So now we're looking at 8 out of 12 that we would need. And again, you can find all of these on Political Fixer Fight. So there's a lot to do, a lot of work to do. This was a busy election night. Congratulations to all who were successful, and thank you to everyone who either decided to run for any of these seats or tried to help out in any way. The work is not done. We're going to have a lot of fun together as a Political Fixer family. That much I can guarantee. But I definitely need all of you in your help, not just with this, but with other projects that we've got cooking. So at 63,000 likes, what a great night. Thank you. And thank you again for making this the top political live program in the country. That is amazing. And thank you for helping us last week get past our 7 millionth like just on TikTok. So thank you to all of you that are helping to make the Political Fixer family just large and fun and energetic, to say the least. I do think we can do this, True Blue. I believe you. Carrie, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Counselor Cat Mom. You all know what I want you to do. I want to make sure that you take care of yourselves, that you take care of each other, and do what you can to take care of this precious democracy of ours. I, on behalf of myself and the Political Fixer team that worked so hard, thank you to all of them. Please, if you get a moment, thank our Political Fixer team. They worked so hard to get all of this prepared for tonight so that I look somewhat like I know what I'm talking about, and for setting us up so that we can welcome our YouTube and our Twitch families to the Political Fixer Circle as well. Thank you to all of them. Thank you to all of you. I'm Shauna Presley Vircher, the Political Fixer. Why? Because politics is not going to fix itself. I will see you all soon. Great job, everybody. Yay, team. Good night, everybody. Thank you. I will definitely pass it on. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Kelly and Carrie and Square Foot Gardening. I saw Counselor Cat Mom. I saw G Viv. See Kathy. Thank you for the 64,000 likes. That's amazing. Tanya, True Blue, so many other people. Thank you so much for a great Political Fixer Live. Hi, everyone. We will see you all soon. Donna, so glad I got to say hi to you. Happy election night. All right, keep an eye on these results, everybody. Michigan Senate, Michigan 7 on the Democratic side, Michigan 8. We are going to have a lot to chit chat about. We'll talk about it Friday and then next Tuesday. Talk to you all later. Bye. Jay Cook, thanks for such a great help tonight. Thank you. Thank you.